Hey guys, it's Dan from Shasta Bubba Adventures. I've been shoe shopping again, and this time I think I found a winner. It's the Hoka One One Speedgoat 4. And yes, I know it looks like 1-1, but apparently it's pronounced One One because it's French. But from now on, I'll simply refer to it as the Hoka Speedgoat 4 to avoid annoying you by constantly repeating One again and again. This shoe weighs 26.5 ounces for the pair. It has a 4mm heel drop and a 33mm stack height at the heel. Now, I know I'm just rattling off numbers there, but think about that last one for a minute. A 33mm stack height is huge. I'll be honest, the first time I tried the shoe on, I laughed at how ridiculously high it felt and quickly discarded it as a viable option for backpacking. However, one crucial factor kept bringing me back to the Hoka, and that is the Vibram soles. Now, many of you know I'm kind of a fanatic when it comes to only hiking in shoes that have Vibram soles for the rock protection and the stickiness they provide on wet surfaces. But there are fewer and fewer options available these days, so that's what kept bringing me back to the Hoka Speedgoat. In fact, I tried them on 3 different times before I finally bought a pair. Now at this point, I've been using these shoes for daily workouts over the last 4 months, and I've hiked about 100 trail miles with a full pack on them too, so I believe I've got enough time to form a clear opinion of them, and that is, I love them. The height of the shoe that seemed like a joke initially is actually one of the best features of the Speedgoat because it provides amazing cushioning on the rough ground. Combining that with the extra toughness of the Vibram soles makes these one of the most protective shoes on the market for underfoot cushioning. In fact, in researching this shoe, I learned that the Hoka brand was founded in 2009 specifically as a reaction to the trend towards minimalist shoes, like the Ultra Lone Peak 4.5, which has a 25mm stack height and a 0 heel drop, or the Saucony Exodus 4 that you see here for comparison, which has a 23.5mm stack height and a 4mm drop. Minimalist shoes typically have a rock plate for protection, but otherwise pretty minimal sole and minimal stack height. In contrast, the Hoka Speedgoat is considered a maximalist shoe. I just love the sound of that, maximalist. It sounds like a cross between Robin Leach and Rambo. By the way, I don't mean to be putting down Lone Peak. That shoe was actually my second choice, and I probably would have gone with that instead if it came with a Vibram sole, which it doesn't. With the height of the Speedgoat and the fact that the shoes really don't splay out very much, like many running shoes do to provide stability, I worried that at first I would trip a lot and maybe I'd be in for some twisted ankles, especially since I personally am prone to twisting my ankles. But that hasn't happened even once as yet, which is largely due to the very supportive heel cup that holds you firmly in there. And I also think it just shows that we can get used to anything if it's used frequently enough. I read before I bought the shoes that the toes tended towards being narrow, so I went for the wide version in a size 12, which is about half size up for me to allow for swelling on the trail, and that's comparable to other trail runners that I've had. That worked fine for me in the gym, but once I got out on uneven ground, I quickly decided that the wide was too much room because I was sliding around in it, and so I bought a second pair in a size 12 regular, and that's what these are, and these fit perfectly. Although it seemed a bit tight at first, the uppers actually have some play and stretch to them, so this is working out great for me. And I wonder if the other reviewers who said that these ran narrow were actually making a quick judgment based on how snug the fit is, rather than using them extensively and recognizing the give of the uppers that you can see here. By the way, that is one potential con. Despite the huge underfoot protection, there's not a lot of protection at the front or on top of the foot. But with the rocker design, maybe that's less of a concern and hasn't been a problem for me at this point. And ultimately, I think that's a criticism that could be lobbied at any trail runner type of shoe. I also read a review that said the Speedgoat was considered to be heavy for a trail runner, but that seems kind of silly to me considering these average 26.5 ounces per pair versus 25.7 ounces for the Lone Peak, both in a size 12. So actually the Hoka is quite light. In fact, very comparable to the Lone Peak. The ultra cushy midsole makes the Speedgoat 4 a favorite among thru hikers who need the all-day protection to keep their feet and joints comfortable while logging those big miles. And drying time also seems to be above average, and I've been actually pretty impressed with how good these shoes feel to hike in even when soaking wet. Long term, I've read that because these shoes are mainly built for trail running, the durability is expected to take a hit. That remains to be seen, and I'll be sure to make a long-term review after the full season of hiking. But with the Vibram Sole, I'm not sure what is expected to break down any quicker with these shoes than any other shoe in this class. One potential con I will be tracking is the stiffness of the tongue. You notice it's not padded like most shoes, and when I initially was getting used to these, it seemed like every time I put them on, I felt that tongue pressing against the front of my ankle for the first few minutes, and I worried that that would produce soreness over several hours of hiking. As it's turned out, that hasn't happened. I've just ignored it, forgot about it, and there haven't been any problems so far. That said, I've only had one day of hiking with a full pack over 20 miles, so we'll see how that plays out over a 5 to 7 day trip with multiple big mile days. Hey, if you personally have been using the Hoka Speedgoat and would like to share your impressions, please leave those in the comments section below, and we'll all benefit from having more opinions. For me, I personally am really happy with them, and I look forward to many cushy trail miles this summer. Okay guys, that's it for today. If you found this video useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.